Hey, welcome back to the Soul Pod. This is Stacy. Today I want to talk about something that leaves many of us feeling off balance, out of sorts, not quite right. The great Carl Jung once said that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who we truly are. For a lot of us, when we feel that sensation of being off, not quite being there, it's because we're not being who we truly are. We're not being authentic, and we are not being genuine. We're out of integrity. And integrity is a big word. We're gonna go into the specifics of what I mean by that. When we're in integrity, we find that we have more joy, more peace. So let's talk about that. See, this is a subtle pain that we don't always recognize. That when we're out of integrity with ourselves, when we're dishonest in some way, when we're not genuine with the people around us, especially those who matter, we're out of sorts. We're off balance. We're uncomfortable. When I was a kid, I was probably 12, 13 years old. Uh, I used to go to the next town over to visit another friend who I went to school with. It was 4 or 5 miles, and I rode my bike. Now there was two ways to get there. There was the fast way, and there was the safe way. The safe way was much longer. It was a much longer ride on my bike. The fast way was a quicker route, but it was a narrow road with logging trucks on it and no shoulder. And so my mother told me, she said, don't take that way. And I told her I wouldn't. So I went to visit my friend one day. I took the long way, the safe way. And coming back, I just didn't really want to go through the trouble because it's the long way. So I took the short way. And it was fine. I survived. Didn't get hit by a truck. That was good. But it was treacherous. And somehow it came up in conversation, how my ride went, and I said it went great. It was good. It was everything worked out. But in that moment, I knew I was lying to my mother. I wasn't lying directly, but I was lying by omission. And within 2 days, I forget exactly how long, I just told her the truth. I just cornered her in the kitchen and said, "By the way, I took the short way coming home." And she asked me why, and I explained, and I told her I wasn't going to do it again. The reason I did that was because being out of authenticity with someone, being dishonest, was so uncomfortable to me. Being dishonest like that with my mother, and knowing that I was telling a lie of omission was so uncomfortable that I had to fix it. Not just because I respected her as a person, but because I was so uncomfortable in my own skin. Now, the reason I bring this story up isn't to say I'm perfect. I'm not. I've made plenty of mistakes. I've told plenty of lies of omission in my life, and overt lies for that matter. But I want to use this story as an illustration to point out that when we when we have these moments and we force our way through them and we bury them and we don't fix them, we build upon them. And then at some point further down the road, you can get to this point where you have a lot of lies of omission, or just dishonesties, or just not being authentic. And the more you get down that road where you're being inauthentic, the more disconnected from yourself you are. And there's a psychological reason why that is that we're going to go into. Now, before we shift gears in a big way, I want to talk about integrity, what integrity is, what integrity isn't. It's not a moral thing like just being a good person, integrity. It's really what it is. It's an alignment between your inner self and your outer life. Like, you know that you are a good person, but if your outer life is showing something else, there's a misalignment, and so we feel off balance. And there's a lot of ways that integrity shows up. It's not always as straightforward as lying to your mother. Integrity shows up in ways like, well, let me give you some examples. Saying yes when you really mean no. That's one of those really subtle ones. Staying in relationships, jobs, things that your inner self is saying no, 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 but your you're staying in them anyway for whatever reason, out of fear, out of discontentment, out of whatever need to prove yourself. 1,000 different reasons why you would stay in these situations that you wouldn't otherwise. That's an example of integrity as well. Or just betraying yourself to avoid conflict. You know, how many times you've been out with a group of friends and they're like, hey, let's do this. And you're like, I really don't want to. I really don't have a desire to. And I don't, but I'm going to say yes anyway. I'm going to betray myself to avoid the conflict of saying no. These are all matters of integrity. So I'm not talking about stop being a liar, you big lying liar face. Maybe you don't have a problem with being dishonest. That's not what I'm talking about specifically. That's just one example. Sometimes it's simply a matter of honoring yourself. And all these examples I've given here are all they're all matters of honoring yourself, honoring your true self, staying in integrity with yourself. And there's of course integrity with other people as well. If you give your word, keep your word. You know, that's one of the best reasons to give your word out loud is because it's much better at keeping you honest than if you just make yourself a promise. It's easy to break promises to yourself. I found that to be true for myself at least. So these are some examples of integrity. These are the things I'm talking about, just so we better understand what we're really working on here. Have you ever noticed that the closest friends you have, the ones that you feel the closest to, are the ones that you can be most authentically yourself? You ever notice that? Now the question is, are they your closest friends because you can be authentic with them, or are you authentic with them because they're your closest friends? Most of the time it's that first one where we've evolved so much with this person. We've had enough personal history with them that we now feel a high level of comfort being genuine with them. Oftentimes they're people we've known for a very, very long time, maybe even from childhood. Oftentimes we'll keep friends around that, they've seen all these different variations of us, a goofy teenager, a dumbass, 20 something year old adult making stupid ass choices, you know, and then, but they've seen all these different variations, and we've seen all the variations of them as well. And we all have that. We all have that. Uh, have had those moments at least, whether we have a witness to it or not. But when you do have a witness, you're most likely to become longtime friends with them because, if they can see those bad parts of you and not hold them against you, and you can do the same, you're going to end up being very close friends. So the point I'm trying to make here is that if you want really close friends, the way you do that is to be as authentic as you can possibly be with people. So sometimes you may have a very close friend now, but that person's probably a very close friend because they have seen the authentic sides of you, the good, the bad, the ugly, all that. So if you want more very close friends, be authentic with people. So that's one of the great things you gain from this. So the question is, how do we go about getting there? Right? So we know that we see the problem, we see the value, but how do you get there? It's all small steps. So this is how you begin. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight, and you won't, by the way. You can't. It's small steps, small movements. We're basically making small movements back to ourselves. We're becoming more authentic with ourselves. We're being more genuine with the world. One of the ways to do this is you start noticing that the subtle tension of feeling off, that feeling that we're off, like I was talking about with the story about my mother. Those moments when you feel a little bit off, or maybe a bit off, and you're not okay with that feeling. How do you get back to yourself? So in those moments, you ask yourself, where am I betraying myself in some small way today? Where am I betraying myself in some small way? Now, when you get these answers to this question, meet those answers with compassion, not judgment. Compassion. Love yourself. Just as an outside person would, for you being genuine, authentic, and vulnerable in that moment. Love yourself. Be compassionate with yourself. See, integrity grows through awareness, not shame. Not shame when we're shaming ourselves or when anyone else is shaming us. No one's going to get you to be more honest and genuine and truthful and yourself by shaming you, and you're not going to be able to get yourself to do that either. So integrity grows through awareness. So you're trying to build your awareness by asking these questions, by asking yourself, what it is that's going on inside you, what that feeling is, and in what ways you're betraying yourself, writing those things down, putting them in front of you, and having the awareness to understand, where this is coming from. And that's where the change starts to happen. The change starts to happen there in a very subtle and beautiful way. And especially when you do this work consistently, you'll see a change over a period of weeks or months as you start to feel. And the change is beautiful because it's all in here. It's this feeling more at home in yourself thing. And the more out of integrity that you are, the more out of integrity that you are, the more of those things that you drop, the faster that will come in. Now, if you're not massively out of integrity, you'll feel it over a longer period of time instead of a shorter period of time. But if you're doing the work, you'll feel it, and you'll become a better version of yourself because you're getting back to the true, authentic you, that beautiful you that you were born as. So going back to Jung's quote and finishing off with that, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Truly are. Integrity, it's not a harsh demand, it's a loving invitation. It's a loving invitation from yourself to come home, to come back to you. If you're ready to come back to you, use the tools I offered today. Sit with yourself, ask the questions, follow up, be consistent, come back to yourself. Alignment is a lifelong journey. This getting back to yourself thing, it's not an instant switch. It's not some quick fix. That's not the way it works. It's about being consistent. One small step today, one small step tomorrow. See how it feels. Be consistent. And in the end, you'll be experiencing the privilege of a lifetime, becoming your true and authentic self. Thanks for being here. Thanks for enjoying the channel. If you like this video, share it with friends. Definitely subscribe to the channel. You want to do that because it's good for you, because you get updates. It's good for me because hopefully it leads more people to the channel. And if you haven't checked out the Soul Podcast yet, you should definitely check out the Soul Podcast. I think you'll like it. Thanks for being here. I'll see you on the next video.